Hello, everyone. It's Josh. Um, this is Chapter Two's video of the Quenta Silmarillion. Um, Basically, in the last video, we read and discovered that the Valar basically was like trying to get everything ready for the children of Iluvatar to inhabit Arda, but Melkor, being an asshole, gathered some spirits together and was like, you know what? I'm gonna fuck shit up. I'm gonna destroy the two lamps. I'm gonna create a lot of chaos in this world because I'm Melkor and I think I should be ruling this place because fuck the Valar, fuck Iluvatar. And it just goes to a point where the Valar's like, okay, we have to hold everything together. Melkor, we're gonna get you. Just let us handle this shit first because you're not doing anything except for causing chaos. So yeah. Then they go to Valinor, they create the two trees, they create Valimar, they create their little sections of Valinor that they dwell in. Ulmo, however, does not, because he already dwells in the sea. Plus since he's like the since he's like the protector of water, he can dwell anywhere. He doesn't want to stick in Valinor because he doesn't really like living on Valinor. And also, he's the most connected with Middle Earth, and throughout the Silmarillion, actually, we will see that he is the most willing to be like, yeah, I know you guys fucked up at times, but I'm wanting to help you too, so yeah. We also learned that Yavanna, who created the two trees with the help of Nienna watering them with her tears, was like, yeah, I'm gonna go to Middle Earth as well from time to time to kind of like heal the hurts of the world. And Orome is like, well, if there's evil creatures around, I need my spear, I need my bow, I need my damn horse, and I need my hounds, and I need my damn hunting parties, so let's hunt some monsters. Anyways, Chapter 2 of Aule and Yavanna. Aule is the he's the forging uh, he's like the Hephaestus of the Valar, if you want to think of it in Greco-Roman mythology terms. Um, but he's like the craftsman of the Valar, and Yavanna is like the I hate to use the stereotypes here, but she's like the loving wife who is also the green thumb. Anyways, it is told that in their beginning the dwarves were made by Aule in the darkness of Middle Earth. For so greatly did Aule desire the coming of the children to have learners to whom he could teach his lore and his crafts, that he was unwilling to await the fulfillment of the designs of Iluvatar. And Aule made the dwarves even as they still are, because the forms of the children who were to come were unclear to his mind, and because the power of Melkor was yet over the earth, and he wished therefore that they should be strong and unyielding. But fearing that the other Valar might blame his work, he wrought in secret, and he made first the seven fathers of the dwarves in a hall under the mountains of Middle Earth. Before I continue, notice how Aule and Melkor essentially were of the same mind when it comes to creating things. However, unlike Melkor, who was like, oh, I want to create things for my glory instead of the glory of Iluvatar, instead of the glory of God, Aule's like, yeah, I want to create some stuff. I want to create some beings that are like the children of Iluvatar, who are unyielding to corruption, who are unyielding to evil, who do not fall under the sway of darkness. However, at the same time, he's like, but I understand why the Valar might not like it, so I should probably do this in secret. So, yeah. Now Iluvatar knew all what was done, and in the very hour that Aule's work was complete, and he was pleased, and he began to instruct the dwarves in the speech that he had devised for them, Iluvatar spoke to him, and Aule heard his voice and was silent. And the voice of Iluvatar said, Why hast thou done this? Why dost thou attempt a thing which thou knowest is beyond thy power and thy authority? For thou hast from me, for thou hast from me as a gift thy own being only, and no more. And therefore the creatures of thy hand and mind can live only by that being, moving when thou thinkest to move them. And if thy thoughts be elsewhere, standing idle, is that thy desire? So basically, God comes to Aule and is like, okay, I know what you did. I know that you're creating these beings, but they don't have any real life because you basically just created automatons at this point. You basically created robots. If you have your mind focused on one thing, they will do it. And if it's on something else, they go idle. So, what are you trying to do here, Aule? Then Aule answered, I did not desire such lordship. I desired things other than I am, to love and to teach them, so that they too may perceive the beauty of Ea, which thou hast caused to be. For it seemed to me that there is great room in Arda for many things that might rejoice in it, yet it is for the most part empty still, and dumb, and in mine patience I have fallen into folly. Yet the making of things is in my heart from my own making by thee, and the children of little understanding that makes a play of the deeds of his father may do so without thought of mockery, but because he is the son of his father. But what shall I do now, so that thou be not angry with me forever? As a child to his father, I offer to thee these things, that the work of thy hands which thou hast made, do with them what thou wilt. But should I not rather destroy the work of my presumption? Then Aule took up a great hammer to smite the dwarves, and he wept. But Iluvatar had compassion upon Aule and his desire, because of his humility. And the dwarves shrank from the hammer and were afraid, and they bowed down their heads and begged for mercy. And the voice of Iluvatar said to Aule, Thy offer I accepted, even as it was made. Dost thou not see that these things have now a life of their own, and speak of their own voices? Else they would not have flinched from thy blow, nor from any command of thy will. Then Aule cast down his hammer and was glad, and he gave thanks to Iluvatar, saying, May Eru bless my work and amend it. But Iluvatar spoke again and said, Even as I gave being to the thoughts of the Ainur at the beginning of the world, so now I will have taken up thy desire and given it to a place therein. But in no other way will I amend thy handiwork, and as thou hast made it, so shall it be. But I will not suffer this, that these should come before the firstborn of my design, nor that thy impatience should be rewarded. They shall sleep. They shall sleep now in the darkness under stone, and shall not come forth until the firstborn has awakened upon earth. And until that time, thou and they shall wait, though long it seem. But when the time comes, I will awaken them, and they shall be at thee to be as children. And often strife shall arise between thine and mine, the children of my adoption and the children of my choice. Then Aule took the 7 fathers of the dwarves and laid them to rest in far sundered places, and he returned to Valinor and waited while the long years lengthened. Since they were to come in the days of the power of Melkor, Aule made the dwarves strong to endure. Therefore they were stone-hard, stubborn, fast in friendship and in enmity, and they suffer toil and hunger and hurt of body more heartily than all other speaking peoples. And they live long, far beyond the span of men, yet not forever. Aforetime it was held among the elves in Middle-earth that dying the dwarves returned to the earth and the stone of which they were made. Yet that is not their own belief. For they say that Aule, the Maker, whom they call Mahal, one of Aule's names, cares for them and gathers them to Mandos in halls set apart, and that he declared to their fathers of old that Iluvatar will hallow them and give them a place among the children in the end. Then their parts shall be to serve Aule and to aid him in the remaking of Arda after the last battle. Now, I'm going to pause here for half a second. Between this chapter and the last chapter, y'all may be wondering, what is the last battle? Why is this last battle so important? In the context of the Silmarillion, there is 2 prophecies that are referenced by Mandos. Now, you'll want to keep Mandos' name in your mind because Mandos is an important figure in the Silmarillion regarding certain aspects of the Silmarillion. I will say that in the Unfinished Tales, I believe it is mentioned, but this final battle that is mentioned as that, as well as the end of days, the end, and other synonyms, not cinnamon, for the final battle. They are mentioned in, I believe, The Hobbit. I know it's mentioned in there for sure. The Lord of the Rings, and I believe the Unfinished Tales. I'm not sure though, but we will get to that eventually. Just know that the last battle is very important, especially in the context of the Silmarillion and Tolkien's religious faith, which is Roman Catholicism. And it's also important within, it's important within Christianity and Judaism and Islam and in other faith traditions, but it's really important within the context of Judeo-Christian teachings, as well as within the Silmarillion, the Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit, anything related to Middle-earth. Okay? Cool. Continuing on. They also say that the seven fathers of the dwarves returned to live again in their own kin, and to bear once more their ancient names. Excuse me. Of whom Durin, uh, of whom Durin was the most renowned in after ages, father of that kindred most friendly to the elves, whose mansions were at Khazad-dûm. Keep that name in your thoughts, because Khazad-dûm, very important. Now when Aule labored in the making of the dwarfs, he kept this work hidden from the other Valar, but at last he opened his mind to Yavanna, and told her of all that had come to pass. Then Yavanna said to him, Eru is merciful. Now I see that thy heart rejoiceth, and as indeed it may. For thou hast received not only forgiveness, but bounty. Yet because thou hiddest this thought from me until its achievement, thy children will have little love for the things of my love. They will love first the things made by their own hands, as doth their father. They will delve in the earth, and the things that grow and live upon the earth they will not heed. Many a tree shall feel the bite of their iron without pity. But Aule answered, That shall also be true of the children of Ilúvatar, for they will eat and will build, and though the things of thy realm have worth in themselves, and would have worth if no children were to come, yet Eru will give them dominion, and they shall use all that they find in Arda, though not by the purpose of Eru, without respect or without gratitude. Not unless Melkor darkens their hearts, said Yavanna, and she was not appeased, but grieved in heart, fearing what might be done upon Middle-earth in the days to come. Therefore she went to Manwë, as she did not betray the counsel of Aule, but she said, King of Arda, is it true that Aule hath said to me that the children, when they come, shall have dominion over all the things of my labor, to do as they will therewith? It is true, said Manwë, but why dost thou ask? For thou hadst no need of the teaching of Aule. Then Yavanna was silent, and looked into her own thoughts, and she answered, Because my heart is anxious, thinking of the days to come. All my work are dear to me. Is it not enough that Melkor should have marred so many? Shall nothing that I have devised be free of the dominion of others? Sorry, got a little emotional there. But basically, to recap everything that I read up to that point, Aule was like, okay, I've made the dwarves, and now Eru's calling my name. Yeah, God? God's like, okay, what are you doing? You can't create things without my permission. So why did you create a bunch of automatons or robots? Aule was like, well, I wanted to teach stuff. I wanted to create things, teach stuff to those things, and I fucked up. Why don't I just offer you my children, essentially, as a sacrifice? And then he goes to try to, like, destroy them, and Era's like, no, stop. They have free will. However, you don't get to have your kids before I get to have my kids on the scene, so yeah. So he puts the fathers of the dwarves in 7 locations. Then he goes to tell his wife that he's like, hey, hun, I have a new creation. I have to wait for the children to get here, but I have a new creation. And his wife is not too happy. She's like, oh, geez, honey, that's great, but your kids are gonna fuck up the things that I like, aren't they? And he's like, well, yeah, I mean, they're gonna need materials to build stuff. And she's unhappy, so she's like, great, now I have to go to Manway. Huh. And then she goes to Manway, she gets all emotional, and here's where we pick up. If thou hadst thou thy will, what wouldst thou reserve? Said Manway. Of all thy realm, what dost thou hold dearest? Now here's where Yavanna says something that is very true, especially of nature. So keep this very carefully in your mind. All have their worth, said Yavanna, and each contributes to the worth of the others. That quote right there. All things have their worth, and they all work together in harmony. But the Kelvar can flee or defend themselves, whereas the Ulvar that grows cannot. And among these I hold trees dear. Long as in the growing, swift shall they be in their felling, and unless they pay toil with fruit upon bough, I can never pronounce that word, I do apologize. Little mourned in their passing. So I see in my thought, would that the trees might speak on behalf of all things that have roots, and punish those that wrong them. This is a strange thought, said Manway. Yet it was in the song, said Yavanna. For while thou wert in the heavens, and with Ulmo built the clouds, and poured out the rains, I lifted up the branches of great trees to receive them, and some sang to Iluvatar amidst the wind and the rain. Then Manway sat silent, and the thought of Yavanna that she had put into his heart grew and unfolded, and it was beheld by Iluvatar. Then it seemed to Manway that the sun rose once more about him, and he heeded now many things therein that though he had heard and that though he had heard them, he had not heeded before. And at last the vision was renewed, but it was not now remote, for he was himself within it, and yet he saw that all was upheld by the hand of Iluvatar, and the hand entered in, and from it came forth many wonders that had until then been hidden from him in the hearts of the Ainur. Then Manwë awoke, and he went down to Yavanna upon Azelahar, and he sat beside her beneath the 2 trees. And Manwë said, O Kementari, Eru hath spoken, saying, do then any of the Valar suppose that I did not hear all the song, even even the least sound of the least voice? Behold, when the children awake, then the thoughts of Yavanna will also awake, and it will summon spirits from afar, and they will go among the Kelvar and the Olvar, and some will dwell therein, and be held in reverence, and their just anger shall be feared, for a time, while the firstborn are in their power, and while the secondborn are young. But dost thou not now remember, Kementari, that thy thoughts sang not always alone? Did not thy thoughts and mine meet also, so that we took wing together like great birds that soar above the clouds? That also shall come by to be by the heed of Iluvatar, and before the children awake, uh, and before the children awake, let me reread that. That also shall come to be by the heat of Iluvatar, and before the children awake, there shall go forth with wings, like the wind of the eagles of the lords of the west. Then Yavanna was glad, and she stood up, reaching her arms towards the heavens, and she said, I shall climb the trees of Kementari, that the eagles of the king may house therein. But Manwë arose also, and it seemed that he stood to such a height that his voice came down to Yavanna as from the paths of the wind. Nay, he said, only the trees of LA will be tall enough. In the mountains the eagles shall house, and hear the voices of those who call upon us. But in the forest shall walk the shepherds of the trees. Shepherds of the trees. Keep that in mind, because they will enter into the story at a later time, and they are very important. Continuing on. Then Manwë and Yavanna parted for that time, and Yavanna returned to Aule, and he was in his smithy, pouring molten metal into a mold. Eru is bountiful, she said. Now let thy children beware, for there shall walk a power in the forests whose wrath they will arouse at their peril. And here is the part of this chapter that I love, because it's like a comedic, like, duo of, like, a husband and wife, like, going back and forth. Nonetheless, they will have need of wood, said Aule, and he went on with his smith work. So basically, after Yavanna talks with Manwë about, getting something to protect nature, specifically plants and growing things like trees, and Iluvatar's like, yes, she can have her shepherds of the trees and of nature. Manwë's like, okay, you have your creation. I have my eagles, so that's cool. Also, for the record, they will live up in the mountains. They're not for the forests. No. So Yavanna's like, fine, okay, whatevs. And then they part ways. Yavanna returns to Aule, and she's like, honey, I have something too. But at the same time, you better watch out, because if your creations fucks with my creations, they're gonna be hurt. And Aule's like, oh, whatever. They're gonna be needing some wood for, like, creation and shit. So, you might as well just, like, get along with it. Why don't you? But, anyways, that is the end of my reading episodes for the night, because it's late and I'm tired and I need to get some sleep, and I also need to get some college work done. So, yeah. Anyways, I hope you all are doing wonderfully well. If you are not, just keep in mind that not everything that's going on right now that is bad will always be like that. Things will get better. It may take time, but things do get better. Anyways, try to have a good night, y'all. Before I go, if you're not subscribed to my channel already, what are you doing, guys? Subscribe to the channel. It only takes like 5 seconds to click on the subscribe button. to hit the bell notification to let you all know when I create a new video, and leave a comment in the comment section of this video as well as in the community tab, because sorry, because I want to really interact with the community and all. So yeah, subscribe, hit the bell notification, leave a comment on this video and the previous video, as well as a comment in the community tab, and share this and all of my videos that are on my channel with your friends and your families, because I'm trying to build up my subscriber count, because it would be nice to reach more people throughout the world. Anyways, take care, y'all. Have a wonderful holiday season. Try to stay safe, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.